Coming up on Mountain News this morning, the Safer Kentucky Act goes into effect Monday, and some critics are still skeptical of how effective it will be. And an animal clinic is having to temporarily close its doors due to a case of parvo.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. The time is 5:30 on Wednesday, July 10th. Now let's go on ahead and send it over to meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast this morning.
And Olivia, at the top of the hour, we were at 79 degrees outside our door here at WYMT. Now, cold front moving through with some showers and down to 73. There are also a few areas of fog this morning, so in combination with the showers and fog, take the extra time to get wherever your destination needs to take you this morning. Behind the boundary, again, temps continue to fall back into the lower 70s. Yes, those of you from Ashland to Pikeville, over toward Jonesville and southbound toward Middlesboro, you will see your temp drop here as we make our way through the next half hour to 45 minutes. There you go on the pinpoint Doppler radar. A scattering of showers coming into Louisa, Painesville, tracking toward Whitesburg and Jenkins, and eventually getting a couple of showers into Pike County to boot too. And once we get the cold front to move on through and the sun rises, skies will turn partly sunny. It won't be as hot as it was yesterday, and the humidity, it won't be as high because it'll be on the drop the rest of the day. A forecast high up close to 80 again this afternoon. More about the First Alert 7-day forecast in this half hour. Olivia.
All right, Tim, thank you. House Bill 5, more commonly known as the Safer Kentucky Act, goes into effect Monday. The bill has long been at the center of a debate as many question whether it will do more harm than good. Samantha Valentino sits down with an attorney to break down some of the changes the law will bring.
The Safer Kentucky Act is what many call a tough-on-crime bill. Abe Mashney is a Lexington attorney. He says the law will have a large impact on people who are already in the criminal justice system. House Bill 5 expands the terms violent offender and violent felony.
That has huge impacts on when an individual is eligible to be released, whether they're eligible for parole, when they're eligible for parole and what percentage of the sentence they have to serve before that, whether they're eligible at sentencing for probation.
So what does this mean for people already in the system? Mashney says we'll have to wait and see.
Let's say they haven't pled guilty yet, or they're still on pretrial release, and they're found guilty after Monday. Will the old laws apply, which might mean that they're eligible for probation and have lower parole eligibility, or will the new law apply and they're not eligible for probation and they have to serve 85% of the time before they're eligible for parole?
The law's three-strike rule has garnered a lot of attention. If someone is convicted of their third felony, they'll receive a life sentence. Mashney says it's unlikely we'll see this occur as often as people may think.
When you're talking about violent felonies, they're not eligible for parole. We're talking about people that have served 10 to 20 years and have been institutionalized in prison, then are released, and then pick up another one.
HB 5 also increases penalties for fleeing and evading police.
So what was if you were in a car, a Class D felony is now a Class C felony, and you're not eligible for probation. So you'd have to serve 50% of that time, 5 to 10 years. So beware and abide when the police direct you to do something.
If you flee on foot, that will now go from a misdemeanor to a felony, which is also not eligible for probation. In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
To read more of the changes under the bill, you can head to the story in our WYMT News app. Wesley Hook went missing in June 2020, and his remains were found burned in his car the next month. 4 years later, the final prison sentence has been handed down to one of the people indicted for his death. Enos Little was sentenced to 15 years in a Floyd County courtroom, pleading guilty to his role in the disappearance and death of Hook. Hook's family was there, and his mother shared a victim impact statement. She says yesterday was a day she has been waiting for, seeing the final person involved sentenced to prison.
Yeah, thank God. This day has been long overdue, and I thank God this day is finally over. and I don't have to think about him until he comes up for parole, and hopefully he don't get parole.
Hook says she does not feel like justice was served, but it is the closest she will get, and she is glad the wait is over. Hundreds of people gathered last night in northern Kentucky to grieve 4 people killed at a birthday party and pray for 3 victims still recovering. More information is coming out about the shooting. The Florence police chief says the suspect, 21-year-old Chase Garvey, wasn't invited to the party, but a neighbor says one of the victims, Delaney Erie, was his ex-girlfriend. Another victim who was injured is a student at Eastern Kentucky University. Her mother died while shielding her daughter from the shooter. Police say Garvey took off after the shooting and later died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. At the vigil last night, people started the grieving process together.
This is a space for people to feel like they're not by themselves in this, that there are lots of other people who are grieving alongside them, who are processing this, who maybe are experiencing anxiety and fear, and we can do that together.
Garvey had a previous criminal history and was on probation for a felony at the time of the shooting. A Clay County man is facing charges after police obtained a complaint warrant which led to his arrest. According to the warrant, it happened at a home on Kincaid Road. In the complaint, a person says her grandson came into the home high on something and slammed her house phone down and broke it. It also says her grandson broke the handle of a storm door. Joshua Roberts was taken to the Clay County Detention Center. In Laurel County, police are asking for help finding a suspect regarding a theft case. Here's a photo of the person police are looking for. Deputies with the sheriff's office say the suspect stole an orange-colored Honda ATV and a pair of steel chainsaws. If you have any information about the case, you can contact the sheriff's office at 606-864-6600. 2 men are under arrest for reportedly smuggling drugs into jail. It started with a tip saying that inmate Rex White was working with Antoine Ursery to sneak drugs into the Powell County Detention Center through the transfer situation on the Mountain Parkway. Police watched from a distance for the transaction and then pulled the vehicle over. Ursery was arrested, charged with trafficking in a controlled substance and being convicted felon in possession of a handgun.
We have all the evidence we need through text messaging, things like that, that ties them all in together and should make a good solid case for the Commonwealth's attorney.
Rex White, who was already behind bars for drug trafficking and wanton endangerment relating to a 2023 arrest, is now facing new charges. A firefighter with the Clay City Fire Department is on administrative leave after a social media post circulated showing him hanging out of the window of a car. Fire officials say the behavior is not tolerated. The Powell County Judge Executive says the incident jeopardized people's safety.
He could have lost balance, fell out of the car, and according to the witness, they were at a high rate of speed, and so it could have caused somebody else to wreck, by coming up on it and seeing somebody hanging out the window, driving in attention, they could be going, and run off the road, or they could have hit head on or anything like that.
The firefighter will remain on leave pending a board of directors meeting. Their information has been turned over to law enforcement. The Powell County Animal Shelter is having to temporarily close its doors while fighting a parvo case. Officials say they cannot take any new surrenders for at least 2 weeks while they isolate the litter. Kelsey Soto is talking with Animal Control, who says they are also overwhelmed with abandoned puppies being dropped off in remote areas of the Red River Gorge.
Abandoned in a tree stump in the Red River Gorge.
They don't want to put the money in to protect them. I mean, obviously they're dropping them off left and right all over the place. And that's the biggest issue, the biggest contributing factor.
Justin Wright is an animal control officer in Powell County. Just yesterday, he got a call from park rangers about 2 puppies left at a campground in the gorge. It was last week when a litter of 5 puppies were rescued from a remote area in the woods. After getting their vaccinations, the vet determined they likely already had parvo.
You don't know what these animals have had or what they've got going on. And usually it's a pretty effective way to cut down on disease and sickness, but eventually it's something that everyone will run into.
Now the shelter must close for 2 weeks and isolate the puppies. And 2024 has already dealt challenges. He tells me last year they took in 311 dogs. But as of last week, the Powell County Animal Shelter has already cared for 340.
We're looking at double our maximum intake over the last 10 years at this year.
It's all new territory for this rural shelter, but Justin says with so much on the line, there's no way they can give up.
They don't have anyone else to do it for them. You know, they're innocent in all this, and it's our fault that they're here in the first place or they're in that situation. So you do feel a sense of responsibility to go in and, you know, do what you can.
In Powell County, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
If left untreated, parvo has a 90% fatality rate. Medical care gets expensive, and the shelter is asking anyone who might like to help to donate directly to the Boonesboro Animal Clinic on their behalf. Kentucky Highway Department officials say they hope to have the Blackie Bridge in Letcher County repaired in 3 to 4 weeks. The bridge was closed in early June after an inspection. Community members have had to adapt since, as the trips out of town are now longer. Nina Cornett, who lives in Blackie, says the community has overcome difficulties together.
And it is a tight-knit community, and it's Appalachian too. I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're Appalachians, and we're always historically have been a little isolated, and we, as a result, help each other.
State officials say most of the work will be underneath the bridge. Site preparations are set to begin this week. Paving work is set to begin on one major Knott County road today. Officials with the Transportation Cabinet say work will begin on Kentucky 15 at milepoint 4.0 near the Carr Creek Lake Bridge. That will run through milepoint 9.3 near the Knott Perry line. This will happen between 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. each day through July 19th. If you drive on this road regularly, then you need to be prepared for delays and seek other routes as necessary. Officials with the Transportation Cabinet say cross-drain operations will continue for one section of Kentucky 1534 in Bell County. The work is being done at milepoint 3.3 and the Page Cutoff community. The area of Kentucky 1534 will remain closed until July 16th due to cross-drain replacement. Drivers can use US 119 and US 25E as alternate routes to bypass the work.